Bert, 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 Bert! Get him, yeah! Ron Babe was right. Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey, skippers and skipettes, do not skip this intro because there is a story that you will want to hear about my trip to North Dakota to pick up the new V, the new dog. You'll know. Just listen, don't skip. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the folks from Synovitin. Now, if you've never heard of Synovitin, you're going to hear about it soon. And if you have a dog with elbow osteoarthritis, and that is very common these days in the sporting breeds, you're looking for something that's going to help him get through the season. And that's where Synovitin OA can help. It's a different way to relieve the pain that causes limping and lameness. Just one quick, non-surgical treatment can provide pain relief for up to a whole year. So if your dog's elbow pain has been keeping you and him out of the woods and all the things you love to do together, ask your veterinarian about Synovitin OA or visit activedognow.com/learn more. This procedure can only be performed by licensed veterinarians at veterinary hospitals permitted to use internal radiation therapy. On rare occasions, discomfort in the treated elbow has been seen in dogs that can last up to 72 hours after treatment. Short-term home care instructions must be followed after treatment to minimize extended close contact, such as co-sleeping. To review the full veterinary prescribing information, visit activedognow.com/cpinfo. And just so you know, co-sleeping means don't let him sleep in your bed if you get this done. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. It is Easter. Yeah, it's Easter Sunday. I hope y'all went to church. Yeah, I didn't. I was thinking of it, but we got busy and we got brunch today. So I'm doing this very early in the morning, getting this ready so you've got something to listen to on your way to Easter. Mom, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, any sister, brother, wherever you're going. Happy Easter to you and yours. Hey, where do I start? Well, I'll start like I always do. Patreon patrons, we had a great Zoom room last week. We had some very interesting topics, and my patrons who are in the HDP Talk category, the second tier, I had a little rebuttal and a couple of compliments from that one. I kind of talked about the off switch, and I just gave you my opinion on the off switch. I'm so tired of hearing that term. Oh, I like this beard. It's got an off switch. Anyway, Patreon patrons who subscribe to HDP Talk got a little bit of that one, and my view of the NAFTA Natural Ability Water Test. And that came after talking with Sophie that you're going to hear about on this podcast. Kind of opened my eyes to something. And, it's something I thought about for years. But I don't think I'll get anything changed there. But you know what? Some good conversation there. Yeah. Pike Gear is my title sponsor. The new Dakota pants, along with all their other pants and vests and shirts and jackets and hunting vests. I don't know what else you need. Go to Pike Gear. They had an Easter sale. If you're listening to this, I would bet you it's still on, okay? The rest of you, if you're patrons, you can always write me. We do have a Patreon code for that. Onyx, everybody can get HDP 20. We know that. You can get Quail 20, PF 20, McCullough 20, Husqvarna 20. I don't know. They've got a lot. But you know what? If you don't have Onyx, you don't know where you've been, and you can't set a pin. Boss Shot Shells, they're going to show the birds who's boss. I've got some Boss Toms. I got some for my neighbor, my son-in-law, and for me. I'm going to go after another one of them big, stupid, dumb birds that you shoot on the ground and you feel good about. God, I wish I could get one to fly, just like I did when I was 17 years old in Tennessee. Knocked that son of a gun out of the sky with number 6 in my old Remington 1100. I didn't have Bosch shotgun shells there, but we do now. And they fit wonderfully into the Weatherby Orion Element Essential. They're auto loaders, they're brake open. Weatherby, I just can't tell you how much I love them. And they love you more than any other gun company that sponsored this podcast, because you can buy direct from Weatherby and get a discount using HDP. If you try that and you're unsuccessful, well, you're not trying real hard. If you have any problem with that, you call me, I'll call them, and I'll make sure, because they love my listeners. They do. They really, think about it. Did anybody else ever do that for us? No. They couldn't be bothered with you listeners, but Weatherby can. Walton's has everything but the meat. If you don't have Walton's, you don't have a complete kitchen. That's what I'm going to say. You just don't. You probably just, breast your birds out, put them in lemon and butter oil, and call it a meal. But Walton's can make things special. They can. Purina, here's something. What food do you eat? Right? Well, not you. Well, I'm not redoing this episode over that. I don't care what the little conscious angel on my shoulder says. Do it over on Be More Professional. No, Purina, if there's one reason to feed Purina, it's because of all the events they sponsor. Now, there's a couple of companies, Purina being the biggest, of course, that do some sporting dog events. So I'm not saying there's none. But if you're feeding like Dr. Frank's or Timmy Tom or Blue Moon or all them other, what are they putting back into the conservation world? Where are they putting? Purina gave $1 million for a habitat project last year. Okay, who is more involved with you and your dogs than Purina? The answer is pretty simple: nobody. Yeah, it's like nobody's ever made a gun or kennel before Addison did, and he made the bomb-proof, strongest, safest kennel on the market and followed it up with the most unbelievable food crate. You can think, well, how important is my food? Yeah, I go through food pretty darn fast with 4 to 5 dogs, okay? But if you got one dog, I want a food crate that's going to keep that airtight and fresh. You got to eat the same old food every day. It might as well be fresh, not dried out. So there you go. Garmin. You know what? I gotta get a new Instinct watch. I think I broke mine. It's driving me crazy. Or I gotta do a master reset. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I hook. Fuck it, who cares? I love using the Garmin 550 Plus with the TT15 collars, and now they got the new extended battery life and the Instinct watch that, keeps track of your heart rate, keeps track of your steps, keeps track of your dogs when you want it to, keeps track of everything. And mine's been on the fritz. It's like it gets discharged in a whole day because I think I got some timer. I got some weird thing it comes up with. Anyway, I might need a new one. But you know what? I'm not going to hesitate. I'm not even going to ask them. I'm just going to buy it. If you don't have an Instinct watch to go along with all your other Garmin products, you're just not quite there. If you don't have any Canine Athlete or Wilderness Athlete products, you're also not right there. If you take care of yourself a little bit more than just your 2 or 3 squares a day, if you do a little vitamin, little supplement, little hydrate, you can do all that for your dog and you with Canine Athlete, Wilderness Athlete products, 100%. And on the Patreon page is the discounts listed for that. All you got to do, you'll figure it out. Write me if you have a problem with that. W Hunting Supply, guess what? W Hunting Supply very soon is going to have another item for sale. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, go to W Hunting Supply for all your stuff, your Garmin, your leashes, your check cords, all your tie-out stakes, everything you need. Go to DU Supply and deal with real dog people. That's the best part of it. The other day I called up W and I was going to talk to Jason because he had called me and then he answered the phone because he's one of the principals of the company and he's actually answering the phones. You don't always get Jason when he called, but I hear this voice. Hello, W, how can I help you? I'm like, yeah, looking for Jason. This is Jason. I'm like, wait, is this my Jason? He goes, is this Ron? I said, yeah. I said, quit answering that phone like a disc jockey. But anyway, go to W if you want personal, unbelievably professional service when it comes to ordering something. Because I'm telling you, you don't get that everywhere. Try calling up someplace and ordering something. You're lucky if you can. You're lucky if the person even cares or knows about what you're ordering. They're just taking down your information. That's not how it works. Same thing at W Hunting Supply, my favorite hunting supply company ever. Decked drawer systems. Okay, it's been crappy weather out. I've been on a big road trip, but that road trip, the deck drawer system was used a lot. I had to pick up a bunch of stuff. I picked up stuff from a friend's house. I didn't have bags for it. I pulled out those deck drawers. Those deck drawers became my dresser drawers. I had more stuff stuffed in there than you could shake a stick at. Everything stayed dry. Everything stayed organized. Had to because it was stuffed in there. Anyway, you won't know. Once you have a deck drawer system, you won't know how you lived without it. I guarantee you that. Just like when you get Shooting Sportsman magazine, you won't understand. You won't believe, like, why haven't I subscribed to this magazine my whole life? It's got the best articles about people, dogs, places, guns, you name it. People, guns, dogs, places, and birds. That's how it goes. Something like that. The Upland Institute is, well, you know what it is. It's the opportunity you have to train your dog to be a better trainer, to have a better dog. Let's be honest. I bet 80% of the people who listen to this show couldn't stop their dog in the field without leaning on a collar, confusing it, scaring, or hitting the damn beep button or vibrate. Oh, yeah, I get him a recall with that. Well, is he chasing a deer? Yeah, I don't think that's going to work, okay? What do you rely on? Do you rely on a foundation that you put in your dog, under your dog, brick by brick, or do you just rely on the collar? Because if you rely just on the collar, you die by the collar. Check out Upland Institute, especially if you're new to this. And I know a lot of you are new to this. Even if you're in your first year and you've got a season behind you, you will gain knowledge. And you'll see what it's supposed to look like. And you'll see finished dogs. And you can learn a little about train retrieve. I'm not saying it's too late to do train retrieve. I was saying that 2 months ago, get it done in the wintertime, and now we can run on spring birds, and now we're going to be at training days. But no time like the present to train your dog. Yeah, that's it. This episode was with Zsofi Majcik, and I interviewed her on the telephone from Hungary after I heard what she had done. This is about 4 years ago. She came out to the Potomac chapter and ran a male and a female dog. She brought them over from Hungary, and she aced the utility test. And I heard about this woman, and this is before I ever thought about getting a Wirehaired Vizsla. And I was just, when I talked to her, I felt like I was talking to, the real deal. Like, you don't just go to another country and come over here and ace the test, But she did it. And so I went up to a seminar up in Wisconsin that she flew in for, and it was all Wirehaired Vizsla people. And it was very interesting to say the least. So this isn't about the history, but we just get into a great conversation. We have Susan and Allison. Allison is my breeder. Susan's a friend of hers and mine. And we all sat down in the basement and had a little chat all about our dogs, our breed. Now, let me tell you about the new arrival. So after I went to Wisconsin, I drove all the way to Bismarck, North Dakota. And I met my new buddy, Tyler, and I picked up little V, as in victory, as in very good. Just the letter V. That is going to be her call name. She's a little black Cocker Spaniel. If you're on Instagram, there's a little post of her on there. There'll be a lot more coming. She's going to go through the Upland Institute in different phases of it, even though she's a flesher. Hell yes. Calming touch, puppy walks, gun intro, the whoa or the hup. It's. So anyway, stay tuned for lots of that. But here's the coolest part of the of the whole thing. So I get out to North Dakota. There's a snowstorm coming right on my heels. I got to get there and get out of there. Well, a piece of the snowstorm came early. That just made my drive back to the east to Fargo a little difficult. But I went and picked up the dog. I was at anyway. It doesn't matter where I was at. Anyway, I was at the kennel, and I reached into my pocket. I have a wad of cash. I've been protecting like the Brinks armed guard at a bank for 4 days since I've been left for Wisconsin. And I got this rubber band wad of cash. I ain't leaving it in the truck. I leave my truck unlocked. I never lock my truck. But I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, I'll do better if that money's just stuffed into my front right pocket. So if you ever see me like dead on the road or fainting or getting in a fight and getting knocked out, just reach in my front right pocket. If there's cash, it's going to be in my front right pocket. Anyway, I reached, I said, Tyler, here, let's take care of this before I walk out of here, and I got to mail it to you. And he goes, no, hold on to that for a minute. I just got a letter for you. And I said, what? He said, yeah, I got to give you this letter. And I'm like, okay. And I get this letter addressed, of course, obviously it was addressed to Tyler, and open it up, and it's a card from my wife and my daughters and my son-in-laws congratulating me on the new dog and said that they had already prepaid for the dog. Can you believe that shit? Yep. Apparently, my son-in-law, Hunter, he was right there when Taffy was getting sick at Christmas, and he said something to his wife, and then they talked to their sisters and talked to Mom, and they thought, that's a great idea. Can you believe that? I'm reading this card, and I'm about crying. What a family. God, what a family. I don't know what to say. It was just, I've never had that happen before, and I never expected it. In fact, my wife said, do you have your money? Did you bring your cash? You got, don't lose it. I'm like, I'm not going to lose it. And all the time she knew it. She knew that dog was already paid for, but it wouldn't have been a surprise otherwise. It was great. And little V is adapting. When I picked her up, she was, she was shaking like a leaf. And I thought, well, you're not very bold. My first walk on the road, all of a sudden she's running around just like Cocker Spaniel. She's running around with Tagus. And she's adapted to all my dogs. She's even adapted to Sue's little corgi, who's a big dog compared to her. Yeah, what a sweetheart. There must be Cocker clones, either that or because Taffy had passed away in December and this dog was just bred. And if you ever watch that story, that show, A Dog's Life, that one where they keep reincarnating, which makes me cry, I think Taffy went from brown to black. So, welcome Little V to the show, to the kennel, to my life.
Suppose that with this stupid bird is not going to move, so I can creep all the way
get right
to
on
the top
of it almost.
Well,
But on
exactly.
pheasants, he never bumps pheasants.
Yeah.
Ever, never, ever does he bump pheasants.
Same.
Hunting, does he? We run him on tree rows because he does not bump.
Because
A
he's so
pheasant will
good.
bump itself, though, too.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
But the
Yeah, but
dog-
I mean,
Correct.
he never.
He doesn't get that close to purposely like
Right.
Exactly. So he's pinning them, or
Yeah.
he's working.
Like we take
Working
Zeke
him at
on
a
tree
distance
rows.
And you know what? Sometimes I even have trouble like telling him to go on and
Me
flush his
too.
bird because he
Yeah,
will
you
stick
do.
there. He's not gonna
Oh, we
want to
get
flush the
pissed.
bird.
Right.
And then when these planted birds, he goes too close. They're not gonna fly.
Right.
But he gets
Okay.
on
And they know
top.
the
I
difference.
100% know what my problem is now.
Just to let you know, we've been
Aaron.
recording for 30 seconds because that was good conversation. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I'm in the basement with three women, Susan Davey, Allison Stebbins, and Zofie, and I don't know how to say your last name.
Meat-sack.
Nietzsche. And it's Zofie?
Jofi.
Jof-
But I listen to Sophie, Zophie, whatever.
Sophia.
Yeah.
Sophie came over here from Hungary this week to do a clinic with a bunch of wire-haired Vizsla breeders, or not, well, some breeders and a bunch of
Owners.
owners. And I had Sophie come on the podcast about 4 years ago when I heard she came all the way to the States with two dogs and smoked what we would call smoked our test. Okay? So that's your introduction, Sophie. But I'm going to go right to that NAVD utility test. Did you find it difficult, or or not? Because I don't know if I asked you that last time. Last time I had stars in my eyes. You know, I was like, she came here with 2 dogs, and she passed them both, right? But I mean, did you find it the same level of difficulty as you did in Europe with the HCP and the VGP, or is it?
It is a difficult test. I wouldn't say it's easy, but you can prepare your dog. I wouldn't say easily, but you can prepare your dog well for this test. And once you know where you are aiming or what the rules are, then
You just adapt.
it's achievable, I would say.
So you didn't find it like, oh my God, I can't do this. You're like,
Well, I came here with 2 of my dogs that I was very confident about their capabilities.
what did they do testing wise back in Europe?
So one of them was extreme. He was, I think, back then about 3.5 years old, if I remember right, and he has already been a Hungarian world champion, an international field trial champion, an international versatile champion. So
you better darn well pass the utility test.
still, until now, as far as I know, he is the most achieved Wirehaired Vizsla in the world, and probably even around pointing dogs.
Probably in the universe, technically. I mean, there's not a lot of dogs in Mars and everything, but in the universe.
So it is very rare, and to my knowledge, probably he's the only dog that has ever achieved to be a versatile international world champion and a field trial international world champion, because they say that one or the other is possible. Once you want a field trial dog, so our versatile tests require blood tracking and a lot of tasks where the dog needs to put the nose down.
Right.
Versus in a field trial, we require a
Head
dog.
up.
It will never win a dog will never win a competition unless he has a really high nose carriage. In Europe, this is very important, the style of running.
Right.
So he achieved both titles, which is a big thing. So when I came here, I knew that he knows more than this.
Yeah.
But still, the European requirements are different from the American that we already mentioned earlier or talked about earlier, that the pointing, the way we require the dog to point a bird is very different. So we had to, I had to retrain him for that. And the other dog I brought along was Puma. She was back then 2 years old. It's a female I bred. She was not that highly titled as extreme, but she did the NA and the HZP, which we call ÖTV in Hungarian.
The spring, fall.
Yeah, the spring and the fall test.
Right.
And I knew her capabilities. She's a very easily trainable and the dog with very good qualities. So I did not have doubts that I can't train her for this.
Now, for people who don't, the few people who don't listen to the last 2 episodes, we talked all about Drahthaars. So we talked about HCP and VJP. So you had the spring fall test done with her, but you didn't go, she wasn't trained to the higher test level.
Yeah, so I did not train her for the what's in German, the VGP, the field, water and forest.
Right, yeah.
Probably because I was lazy.
You're not lazy, but I know what you mean.
So actually, I really hate teaching the dogs the blood tracking part. It is very time consuming for me to lay all this blood and weight and then do it with the dogs. So I just never made it happen with Puma.
Yeah.
Not that there is not a potential in her, but you just have to be determined to do all that and all the things that you need to do with the fox. So we have the fox box, and we have a tracking with the fox.
Blood test.
The blood track that is extra. Then we have this so-called stalking exercise. I'm not sure what that would translate into English, when you just have to show that you can walk in the woods with the dog silently. The dog has to walk by your side, and then without a loud command, so just with your very quiet and gentle motion.
The two of you can just maneuver
Yeah.
and not spook anything.
But then you have to make the dog lay down, then you walk forward, you pretend you are stalking the deer,
Right.
and then you call the dog in, then you go further, you again make the dog lay down, then you go in the woods, and then you wait there 5 minutes, and then you do 2 gunshots pretending you've just shot the deer, and then you walk back to the dog after 5 minutes. The dog has to stay there not moving, and then once it's done, then you go work out the blood track as if that was the shot, as if that was the wounded
right. So the
deer.
dog thinks you shot something. So I think NAVDA adapted its duck retrieve from that because we walked the dog back in the day. If it was in a woodlot, you could do it through a woodlot, but now we stick pipes in the ground, and then we bring it down to a body of water. We set them down. We walk away out of sight. We shoot. Then we come back. But in our case, it's a duck, and then he sees a duck fly. But you're doing it with blood track.
Yeah. The shooting is just there for distraction.
Distraction.
So that the dog...
See if he'll break.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right. Now, Allison, put your beer down. Allison, I met, and I know some of you have heard the podcast I did back in, was it June?
September?
No, that was
Invitational.
the Invitational. And Allison took, which dog of yours came from Sophie?
Zeke.
Zeke.
Zolmaldi Salma.
And you took that dog, which means you got a prize one utility
UT,
test.
yeah.
And then you took them to the Invitational. And what I want to is there because this is a breed. I'm used to rare breeds. I mean, I have Bracos, so they're all over the board. I mean, you get a lot. It's not like you can go get a German Shorthair out of the newspaper. It might not listen to you, but it's going to hunt.
Yeah.
It's going to hunt, right? So you get this rare breed. Like, was there more pressure on you having a dog from Sophie?
Yeah. I gave him to some of her training, so she knew what he was capable of.
Okay.
So
you got to see
yes.
Zeke before.
Yeah, and actually he is a son of
puppy.
Extreme.
He's a son of
special
Extreme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Oh, so you've built up this pressure cooker.
Yes, she pressures me. And at one point, she even was like, "Oh, he could be a field trial dog over in Hungary, like how he runs and things." And
you're
he reminded her of Extreme in some ways, and I was
spinning.
like, "Okay, pressure."
How did your utility test went good?
My
Obviously,
utility went
because you
good.
got to go to the Invitational.
Yes. Yep.
So were you now more nervous running the Invitational, or were you more nervous about wanting to report back to Sophie?
Wanting her to report back to Sophie. No.
Well, because it's like it becomes like a family. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to call up your mom and say, she goes, "How's my grandson?" he can't make math. So it does become a pressure of sorts.
It is, but I really was confident, and I thought that we had it. And honestly, I was worried most about the field portion, like I said in the last podcast.
Right.
And that's not the area that he struggled in.
Right.
So and that was the first thing of the day. So I was like, after the field, I was like, "Oh yeah, we got this.
We got this.
We got this." And yeah, no.
You're ready to send in the old days. You've been sending all
Oh
telegrams.
yeah. I was like, "Yep, this
we
is
were
great."
continuously on the phone. I mean,
Were you?
Messenger. Everybody was sending messages. What's going on?
So, all that at the same time, Allison has a litter of dogs, which was born last June when I was out in North Dakota. And my new best friend in North Dakota, Susan Davey, is here. Susan Davey and I now have Prodigy through Allison, through Sophie.
Yes.
Susan, is there pressure on you for this? Or you've had several pointing dogs and you live in bird country. What's your...
I mean, it's sort of pressure, but I think it's mostly my own pressure. I have run dogs in NAVDA and AKC, and I've had some successes and many failures. But I like the game. And Allie and I live close to each other, have a place to train. We have birds. And it's I mean, it's a little pressure, and you're trying not to compare dogs of the,
That's very hard
litter
not
mates.
Litter
Very
mates.
hard not to. And there are differences, and we're just learning the whole.
What made you want to get a Wirehaired Vizsla this time? Because you have a Griffin and a wire hair, and Tom's got a wire hair, and I've hunted with your dogs. So what sent you?
This is Allie's fault. I was
good.
I'm old lady, and I'm done with puppies. But I lost a wire hair at not quite 3 years old. That was going to be my everything. He loved testing. He was successful at testing, and
I don't remember
you probably didn't know that dog. But anyway, some aggression issues happened, and they were very hard to deal with. And in the end, I lost that dog. And in the meantime, my husband had a dog, and I'm kind of probably way more into training than my husband, and I've tested way more times than him, and I know this stuff. But, you just can't tell significant others what to do all the time.
Tell me about it.
And I got fired as a helper and a trainer, and I didn't have a dog. I mean, I have an old Griff who's just wonderful.
Right.
Another whole long story there, but basically wonderful. But I didn't have an intent, and a thing to grow and to develop. And then my really good friend Allie and her dad and mother are having this litter, and I've known Zeke since she got him, and because we trained together, and I thought, okay, I can do one more puppy. And so I've had this puppy since August, and I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And not to say there haven't been some ups and downs, but I guess
Right.
but mostly I'm enjoying the
Did
challenge.
you ever
and-
look at the breed prior
No,
to
didn't know a
meeting
thing
Allison?
about him. We've had
not that many people would.
We've had 3
really.
Griffs, and I probably would have gone after failing with my wire hair with another Griff at this point in my life
Right.
for temperament. Without exposure to Allie and her wire-haired Vizsla, I wouldn't have known anything about him. You just don't see him.
Allison, how did you find the Wirehaired Vizsla?
I wanted first a lower shedding dog,
Okay.
and something that would do good in the cold in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So I was looking at German wire hairs, honestly.
Did you and Eric what'd you have before that?
I had labs before.
That's what I thought.
And then I had a
labs.
Vizsla cross, so I did have a pointing dog, and I knew I
Right.
wanted a pointing dog
Right.
after having a lab and then something that would point. And then I was looking at the German wires because that's what people in our area have. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Griffs, I wanted something a little more than a Griff, a little less hair and a little more action.
More go.
And then just honestly like Googling, and I did like smooth Vizslas. I had relatives that had smooth Vizslas, and
Yeah.
I liked them. And then we realized that there was a Wirehaired Vizsla, and I got involved with looking into breeders in this state, and then I couldn't find anything in the country that really did, any field work with their dogs. There
Right.
weren't very many breeders that did field, and I wanted a hunting dog. At that point, I wasn't into breeding. I wasn't necessarily into show or anything. I just wanted something I could take out and hunt. And I talked to a breeder in Michigan who's no longer breeding, and she said, you need to talk to Zolmaldi. They have what you're looking for in a
Right.
dog. And I think I talked to her twice before I decided that I was actually going to pull the trigger and do it. But
And you got
it all
Zeke.
came down to I got Zeke, yeah. Yep.
So, do you feel responsible for all this anxiety, Sophie?
I'm so happy about that.
I have to interject this. We talked before we hit the record button, and I don't know if this is just Europe and America are just different. I mean, we all get along. We love seeing each other's places. There's just different expectations, different rules, different structures. And when I interviewed you 4 years ago, I never met you. And then, so what Sophie's done is come to Pivot Kennels and invited people to come in to bring their dogs in, because as far as I know, in Wirehaired Vizslas, you're there. I mean, I don't know. There's probably somebody that's had them as long as you, but you've done a lot with them. And what I love about you is you're like Bodo Winterheld that started NAVDA. If something needs to be said, it's said. You don't sugarcoat it.
That's for sure.
But now, is that because it's the breed you love, or is that just because you're from Hungary?
I think it's European.
My grandpa and my dad were a lot like this.
Not European, because English people are very different.
Yeah.
They would never tell anything so raw in your face.
It would be east of the Rhine River.
Maybe.
I have Dutch friends, and they come and visit and stay with us in the ceramic world, which was my profession. And the way they communicate is so different than us. We're just like half the time, but it's okay.
You mean
it's,
just blunt with
yeah,
the well,
yeah. I can't say this stuff
Blunt is
here.
raw. So I've got this comment several times, and probably I'm more raw than the average.
And
I
it's
keep
okay.
telling people that I'm not going to be nice. You know, I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to say it straight in your face.
Right.
Because that's why that's what I am, and that's what I also expect from others. I don't like people who don't tell me honestly what it is, and I don't like to waste time. I mean, with just like trying to be more polite. I mean, I'm trying, but I'm not that type of person.
Are you okay?
See, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I was raised by a dad who was, 2 minutes being. If he was born 2 minutes later, he would have been born in Berlin. So my dad was always a guy that, if somebody would say something, like when we were talking about fetch the other day, and you said, "Why do you use one word?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's because what I do." My dad would challenge the same thing. He'd be like, "It's not wrong. Why?" But people here get a little.
I know. I might put too much pressure.
But is it the passion for the dog, or is it like, I want to say, is it nurture or nature? Is it the passion for the dog, or the passion for training?
It's probably my personality.
Is it?
But I do have the passion for the dogs. So it's very interesting how my life is really always my path is always leading to this way. I feel that my mission in life is to make this breed better and more popular, and
I'll tell you, that is something that rare breeds, and it would still be considered rare here. I mean, there's a lot of them.
it's rare everywhere.
Still rare.
I would say.
And me coming from the Bracco Italiano world, another rare breed, we didn't have that voice. I tried to be that voice for about a week, but it didn't go over good coming from an old white guy. Okay. But no, I know it's funny because we're having a good time, but it's so valuable so you get these people got these dogs, and you're telling them real world stuff what they got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just saying, hey, this is what you have to do. Because people read books and they watch this and they watch that, and then you see them, and it's kind of like you having to see a whole bunch of your grandchildren going like, ay, ay, ay.
So I like coming here. I like doing these trainings, and not that I only like it, but I feel the need for it because there are so many people that need it. Yeah, and I'm very happy that they do take their time and some people and show up. Some people came
for just a day.
Yeah, but from a very long way from here, like 12 hours drive or even more.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that, and I'm happy to come here and help these people. I want to show that this breed is a great breed because I have my full trust in this breed, or what's the right word?
Yeah, trust in the breed,
Yeah, and I'm not saying that every individual is good, but I'm saying that
the breed as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very happy to help people to get the best out of their dogs, because what I see is that many people are not skilled enough, so this breed needs a special approach. And it's not that it's a difficult approach, it's just that it's a little bit different from what many people get used to. For example, people who had been dealing with the German pointer,
short hair, German wire hair.
Exactly. That's I've been telling about this during our training. So I want to help people so they can get the best out of their dogs. And also what I experience is that a lot of people are trying to get help, but it is very hard to find nowadays good help because every second person named themselves dog trainer,
Yeah.
especially since COVID. And for beginners or those who are not that much into this hunting dog training,
Right.
it is very difficult to tell who is good and bad or who really
Right.
knows what he's doing and who is not.
Yeah.
And then, they are really trying to find help, but it's very difficult to find good help. So I'm happy to come and help, and
Yeah.
I appreciate all these people
I
who
mean, you
show
came
up.
with your mom and your son in tow. It's a bit of an inconvenience, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it'd be easy to stay
And
home.
to be honest, it is way more easy to do this training with my husband that we used to do. So we do trainings at home in Hungary, and we used to do several ones in England because there's also a big interest for that.
Yeah.
But not since COVID. I mean, we couldn't go since COVID. But unfortunately, it is also a big sacrifice from my side to come here and leaving my dogs back home
Yeah.
because we don't have the proper, reliable help to leave my dogs back. So that's why we had to make the decision that, okay, it's me coming and my husband staying at home looking
Right.
after the dogs. I'm telling you that it would have been 100 times easier for me doing this training with the two of us, and of course,
Right, because there was a couple times I'm like, I don't want to be like, I've got things that I've done for years. But when we did some of the beginning things in the circle and the healing,
yeah.
and as soon as you're off in the field, everybody sits at the truck and we all tell stories.
Yes.
And we all could still be working over here. And
Yeah.
that's where if your husband was here,
Yeah,
he'd
so-
say, come on, Sophie's over there, I'm over here, let's get this rolling.
So
It's
yeah, we
difficult.
work the best as a team.
Yeah.
But now this sacrifice had to
He
be
ran off
made.
to the French Foreign Legion. What are you kidding?
So, well, we managed to do trainings back in New Jersey. We did that together, and it was fun. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we can still do it together in the future.
But you got to get some really good.
Yeah, so
help back home.
we sometimes, this is now a period when we struggle with the reliable help back home with the dogs, and you can't just leave when you have many dogs. Even when you have one, you have to make sure
yeah.
that somebody reliable is looking after your
Yeah.
dog. So that's the thing. But I've been doing trainings in the U.S. for now several years, and I'm trying to cover different areas.
Right.
This location is very close to my heart, not just because Megan and Eric Wallendal, who are the owners of Pivot Kennel and the Wallendal Game Farm, they are very good friend of mine, but I also know this location. They are
Yeah.
really good hosts, and
Centrally located too, so a
Yeah.
lot of different people can
It's
get
a good,
here.
yeah, it's a good spot. So I want to get into a little bit of training stuff because, like, I have my way, you have your way, Susan, of doing things. I'd say Allison doesn't have many ways yet because I mean she's youngest. I mean I only mean that because it's not labs and you're in your 4th year of
6.
6th year. Zika's 6th.
Zika's turning 6. Yeah.
Okay, so 6th year of having pointing dogs.
Yep.
And when we started doing some, I think what you said on Friday morning, I keep wanting to say desire, and you say not. What do you say? Building
confidence.
confidence. So, and I know there's a teeny language barrier, not much, but I mean, do you consider confidence what we call desire? Like desire is like that go. Is that confidence to you?
Probably yes.
It would be the closest thing to it.
Yeah. So with this breed, you do have to build up, let's call it confidence, that the dog is ranging far enough that it's making decisions alone and is not depending on you.
Yeah.
So you can easily make this breed too much depending on you.
Too sticky?
Yeah, too sticky, exactly.
Yeah.
Some good and bad. I mean, every breed has its pros and cons,
Right.
and this breed has a very high cooperation, and they
Right.
want to please you. They want to be the perfect dog for you, but if you are not starting with the right training, you can make them
A little dependent. and a little-
too dependent, and that can be
and
annoying.
not find out. Like my mother never found out if I could go to college. Like I probably wasn't that bad, but I get that. And when you kept saying that, I'm like, I think she means desire. But you said something on Friday morning that was like, you mentioned the German pointing breeds, which there's many, but the common ones are wire hair, short hair. There's other ones, but
Yeah.
you said a lot of those dogs, the desire's there. Like you could not do a whole lot with them, but the desire is there to just, the game desire is there. But the cooperate, and I agree when you said that, if you laid the scale on it, the cooperation level, the natural cooperation, isn't there. Mm-hmm. Where with the Wirehaired Vizsla, the cooperation scale's a little heavy. So it's like, you're kind of like walking a tightrope to push him. And I was like, oh, I think I let my dog go too long. You know, I know I didn't. I know I feel he'd be good. But have you worked with other dogs in Europe? Are there other breeds like that, or you think a Wirehaired Vizsla is just not that old of a breed? Like, how old is the breed roughly? I mean,
60 something
right?
officially.
It's not that old of a breed.
Yeah, it's
And
not.
it was German Wirehairs bred to Vizslas. Is that, or was it a Hungarian? Was there a Hungarian Wirehaired type?
So you mean how the breed
How did
was?
the Wirehaired Vizsla?
So the official story is that it was bred from the short-haired Vizsla and the German wire-haired pointer.
Okay.
But of course, other breeds had been
Introduced.
involved. And I need to point out that the breeding aim was to have a dog behaving or having the same traits as the short-haired Vizsla,
Yeah.
but having a wire-hair
A more
coat.
serviceable,
So it was
durable.
important that they are not having the traits of a wire-haired pointer or
Right.
Drathar or whatever
Right.
we call them.
But you were looking for that coat and that little sturdier build, but did they try to stay away from the temperament?
Of the German?
Yeah.
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 So they definitely did not want that type of temperament, but they did want the Hungarian Vizsla temperament that we like for that reason. Why that makes them the reason
The
why.
sweet dog.
Yeah, they are very easy around people, around children. They make very good family dogs. They should have this on and off switch button. I'm
Yeah.
saying should have because unfortunately with the short hair Vizsla you see more and more.
Hi.
Anyways,
Yeah.
you say that you're not as much like that over in Hungary, though, right?
Still, I see. So the problem is the short hair Vizsla have become so popular
Yes.
that there are several breeders who are just breeding pet dogs because
Okay.
they can sell. So
Right.
then there is
My
less.
nephews own 3 of them.
There is
Never
less
hunted.
requirement. I mean, once you just breed for the pet market,
Yes.
it only things matters. They have 4 legs, 2 ears, and they are brown.
And they don't die before a year old.
Exactly. So they are losing their real values, and I see more and more nerve problems like hyperactivity,
Right.
separation anxiety, or just they have a hard time concentrating.
Yes.
Like they have this.
We
how
have
do you
that
say?
here.
Lack. Yeah.
Lack of focus or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see we train a lot of short hair Vizslas. I mean, like
Because they're in your area.
yeah, we have a lot in Hungary,
Right, yeah.
and I do see a big difference. We are actually boarding several of them as well because we have a boarding kennel back home, and I see a great difference even in their everyday behavior. So I keep saying to people that the wire-haired Vizsla is more relaxed in the everydays. The short hair is more hyper. They are more loud. They are more aggressive.
Right.
I mean, even the males. So I can have my own males together even when females are in heat and they're not going to start a fight. They get along well. Versus the short hairs, they way more males
Attitude
are.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a big problem in the breed, I believe.
Right.
And I have many or several clients who had a short hair Vizsla before and then changed to the wire hair, and then they say they would never go back to the short hair because there is such a big difference. But as I've said, just having some of the short hairs back home, they are always trouble. They are always more loud, more aggressive, and I wouldn't say they are better in work. So, I don't see any.
It's just a little wound up a little bit.
Yeah, too much wind
Too much wind, yeah. So I want to go into until Bridget calls me.
Yeah.
From no, Bridget, I love you. I love you, Bridget. You know, you're one of my best friends in the NAVDA judging world. And so when we started off, we were doing a lot of retrieving drills. And I had done some retrieving with Tagus, like some table work, some hold and carry. And I was like, when you told me we're going to lay out, I'm just sounding this out for people who weren't there. Sophie would lay out, let's just say 3 bumpers on a trail, a trail that's not full of grass, a 2-track. And basically asking for these young dogs to do 3 retrieves, which I was like, my dog hasn't done 1 yet. And I'm like, why does she think my dog is going to do 3?
Not to mention that far away.
Right. Yeah. Age dependent and experience dependent, but I'm telling you, Sophie, I was like, ay. I'm like, why?
And didn't your dog do it?
Yes, that's the point. And I was like, I would never do this. And this, I want to take away is, I don't think this is because of the breed. This is what I liked about this. It wasn't because we had Wirehaired Vizslas. You found something that it was kind of a challenge to the dog that I didn't think a young dog was ready for. Because in the retrieving world, and I'm not in the lab world, and you guys both were, Allison and Susan, but it's all about handling and retrieving and speed and everything. And this was more like what we would call a Labrador drill. It was, a bumper at 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards. And I'm like, this dog's not going to get this. I mean, I haven't finished force training, which I wouldn't do till next year. And you're like, no, just do this here. And I was kind of shocked. I really was, because I always said, like, to get a dog to go out and look further for a blind, eventually the blind retrieve. You're doing this with a young dog with bumpers, which I would have thought, like, if somebody described what they did this weekend, I'd be like, huh? It did not seem like a good idea. So I want to know, like, I'm sure you've put this together from other training, maybe other breeders and trainers in Hungary. What made you go to that, literally a young dog focus on retrieving? How did you get to there?
So first off, let's make it clear. I did ask everyone if the dog is retrieving, so
Yes.
we made sure that would be the first step.
Right.
To make sure the dog can retrieve and would pick up something. We would make this exercise back home. I have loads of cold games, so if the dog is retrieving game, probably I would even do it with game, which it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
So we work there less with bumpers, just because it's a bit more boring. I believe that well, let's not say this breed, but
Yeah.
I prefer to build up confidence in a dog, like giving several challenging exercises to learn how to find, how to focus, how to use the brain.
And come back.
And come back.
Yeah.
So that's always
then
the
go out
basics.
again.
So we wouldn't do this if the dogs were not bringing back things.
Right, yeah, I painted that kind of with a broad brush.
Okay, so
And-
but that's important, that
Yeah.
you have to have a dog that is going to bring at least that dummy
Something
or
back.
something
Right.
close to you. It
Right.
doesn't have to give it to hand properly,
Right.
because this exercise is more about the way of finding, and we are trying to build confidence in these dogs that they want to go out, they range out further. And with the 3 bumper, the aim was it was for the beginner dogs a very short distance. The aim was
Right.
to get them out again and again, and not to just do something and then feel that it's finished, it's been done.
Right.
Something that a lot of people actually fail to teach the dog, and then they get surprised that when, let's say, in a NAVDA UT at the dog search, the dog finds the dog too soon,
Right.
and the judge asks them to send the dog
Send the
back,
dog
and the dog
again.
would not go back again.
Right.
So if you teach your dog that whenever I ask you to do something, there's always something to find, go out the second and the third time and do
Right.
the same thing, they're gonna trust you.
Yeah. So you're laying the foundation, not actually the foundation of duck search, but you're putting a program in there where the dog is like, I'll go back again, I'll go back again, I'll go back. So when you go to the water someday, it's not a foreign idea to the dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, the foundation is that whenever I ask you something, there is a reason, and there is always something to retrieve or find. So I do see people who just try to go out to the field and then have a young dog search for nothing or hoping they will find something. Now, this is, in my opinion, not going to teach a young dog to search properly because they don't have success. I would not go out ever with a young dog and tell her to search or hunt it up or whatever the
Hunt up or
yeah, exactly, and then have the risk that it will not find anything, and maybe it will start hunting with a good drive, and after a while it will lose focus.
Right.
I would rather, if I'm not sure that there is anything to find there, or I don't have the chance to plant out birds, I would rather do exercises with dummies or birds, retrieving exercises, when the dog learns that when I ask you to do something, there's always a reason
Something to do
and
when
something
you
to
get there.
find. Just like when we did with your dog, this wounded pheasant tracking,
Yeah.
and he has never done that before.
Right.
And then, he did not start properly on the track, but started to go rather using the wind. And I told you that first I want this dog to understand that there is something out there to find. Until he understands that, he will not have that passion to work until I found that something. So even though in the NA it is not expected from the dog to find that bird, just to show the
But
ability
they got to show the work
yeah,
involved.
to show the ability to track for a certain distance. But
Right.
let's say after it has shown for 50 yards
yards,
or whatever that he has done, he can even have a maximum score.
Right.
We would still prefer a dog who
To
is
find
not going
something.
to come back after 50 yards
Right.
because, okay, I got the 4, but he would still go and try to find that something because it's in his head.
So when my SD card quit, where Sophie went with this was, by doing these retrieving drills, it'll help in a lot of factors. Later on in a water duck search and in the puppy in Navda's world, the pheasant track, that no, there is something out there and I trust you. Because I've seen a lot of dogs hit the cover, they still get a good score, let's say in tracking, but they didn't have the confidence to go further. And I really did learn to appreciate all these retrieving drills that I learned with Sophie. Now, as soon as we get back to this, we already changed subjects to the water part of the test. And I apologize. How does a guy go on the road without an extra SD card? I don't know. How does a guy go on the road with an SD card that's almost full? Well, you know me. Here's the next part from Sophie. It was just an enjoyable weekend. Oh my God, we have an SD card that works. So I was talking about my buddy Ken Whitney's Wirehaired Vizsla that he knew would not
Right.
go into the water. He knew it would not go into the water for a bumper, and he told the judges, "I'm not going to let this dog refuse 8, 9, 10 bumpers and rocks. I'll throw one bumper, but I want to use a bird. I want to use a bird," which means in NAVDA your score is going to be lower.
Yes, which
Which I've never agreed with, because as they do in Europe, Sophie, you start off with a bird.
Yeah, so we actually, none of our tests are requiring bumpers.
Right.
And a dog would fail who would not want to go after the bird.
Right.
In our NA, actually, the dog has to swim in twice. So first time you throw the duck in the water,
Yep.
the dog has to retrieve it. So not just swimming, but retrieving it back to the shore at least, then best.
Right.
If it's retrieving it to your hand. And then the second time, so the first time they check if the dog at all would be swimming and retrieving the duck. And then the second time they fire a gun.
So they do a gun test.
Yeah, exactly, a gun test over the water, because it is actually more difficult for a dog to swim.
When he hears a shot that
Exactly.
makes him...
So it's, the ground is more unstable. I mean, swimming is more unstable. So some dogs are fine with the gunshot on
While
the
they're
field.
running
Yeah, exactly.
almost not paying attention.
Exactly, but when they are swimming out for a retrieve
Right.
and swimming,
It can
might
have
be-
another
yeah.
effect on it.
So they can fail on that, and actually that's the part
Yeah.
that certain dogs fail.
I'll go on the record here as saying that NAVDA has to think about that. Now, they're probably never going to listen to me, never going to change a 60-year-old rule, but I like what they do in Europe. I like what the VGP, the spring fall. We want our dogs to get a bird out of the water. Why not throw what? And then, because we say, oh, we're looking for the dog to swim.
Is to swim.
Sophie said something, he goes like, what dog doesn't swim?
I mean, if it does not swim,
I
that's
had
a disaster
That's a
already.
disaster. So it's gonna kind of go tie. I'm gonna tie this back into how much you rely on cold dead birds and bumpers to get a dog ready.
You mean like cold dead birds versus bumpers?
Well, you
or?
call them defrosted.
Yeah.
I mean, you use both. You use defrosted birds and bumpers, just regular canvas bumpers.
Bumpers I use less, so
Yeah.
I would say mostly I use birds. A, because I can get hold of many birds because my freezer is big.
Okay.
And B, because none of our tests require bumpers. So I start with bumpers with the puppies, but I also start with the birds beside the
Early,
bumpers.
yeah.
Early, like smaller birds, like partridges or pigeons
yeah.
to retrieve. And then only if a puppy would have issue with the bird, like it would be more prone to chewing or plucking the bird or
Yeah.
something like that, then I would just stick to the bumper until the puppy has a clean retrieve. And I do want the puppy to retrieve bumpers, or let's call them dummies,
Yeah.
because sometimes I don't have the chance to defrost, or there a lake I'm practicing, people pass by and they might freak out if I'm throwing their dead birds. That's again something. I live close to Budapest and we have very little access to lakes. I mean, where we can train
Right.
water
But-
birds, so
Sophie, wouldn't you say also the purpose of getting them to go retrieve a bumper is partly to obedience? Because you ask them to go get something
Yeah.
and bring it back. I mean, that's a different part than to-
once I made sure that my dog is retrieving the bird and the bumper equally,
because you
equally
ask
well,
them.
On land.
it doesn't really matter what I'm going to use.
Right.
Maybe if I'm using a bird, it gives them more desire, or
Sure.
some dogs like it more.
Yeah.
But most of my dogs don't really care. The reward in the end of doing a certain test that I ask is the finding and the retrieving and the appraisal I give for the dog.
Of whatever you ask them.
Exactly. So it doesn't really make a difference for me with my higher level trained dog if I'm throwing a bird or a bumper. It's more about the performing of the given exercise. Let's say I want them to cross the water and retrieve the dummy from the other side of the shore. I don't really care if it's a
Right.
bird or not. Of course, with the younger dog, I practice more with the bird just to make sure she's going to be ready for the test. What we mentioned before, that sometimes on the test we get really manky birds because
Manky would be Hungarian for rotting.
they are disgusting. So
Disgusting.
sometimes we have
Overly used.
20, 30 dogs on a test, and then
Same
they have
old
only
bird.
a certain amount of game prepared. And sometimes, if we are unlucky, the third dog is peeing on the bird, the fifth dog is chewing the bird, and then they have,
And you're
less
still
and less
using that
birds.
manky bird.
And then, yeah. Or the worst they can look, the rabbits. They
Yeah.
do the rabbit, the drag. They do it often with the rabbit,
Yeah.
not the hare. Well, mostly they
Yeah.
use the rabbit. And if it's a wet weather, you can imagine like they
Oh.
do the 300 steps drag, and after like 5 drag, the rabbit looks rather interesting.
So you mentioned, and I mean like in a bragging way, like you could get a dog ready for a test, for a hunting test, and not have to go through a lot of live birds.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd prefer to have a certain amount of them because on test day, but literally if you could give it a number, could you get a dog steady to a flushing bird with very little bird experience, just based on bumpers, dead birds, your gun work?
So I can train a dog to UT level with just using one single bird.
One single bird.
Well, making sure the dog is okay with gunshot.
And the bird lives.
And let's say in an ideal world, or how I prefer to train my puppies, is that I have a hunting season behind them, which depending on when they were born.
Great.
Ideally, they were born, let's say, in springtime, and then they are at least 4 or 5 months old when the hunting season starts. And then once I made sure that they are okay with the gunshot, which is not preferred to be tested on the first hunting, because, well, with us, we have many hunters around, and you might not have the chance, the ability to go back and finish with that dog if there's something going wrong.
Yeah.
So I prefer to test that. We have clay shooting fields. I take the puppies out, or that given puppy that I want to test, and I start playing with the puppy in this field further away from the shooting and getting closer and closer to the shooting, just to see how he's reacting. And ideally he's not reacting, I can play with the puppy, I can play fetch with the puppy. And if I made sure that he has no problem with several gunshots, then here we go, we can go out hunting. And I prefer to take at least one good dog and then the puppy, or sometimes even I take an older dog, a fully trained, a medium trained, or a started dog, and a puppy. And then those two, the fully trained dog is not going to embarrass me, so it's going to save the day if things go bad. The medium trained dog is there to do the work, but probably not as reliable still. And then there is a puppy to just hang around and do whatever she wants. If I have a puppy to socialize in the hunting environment, I just let this puppy do whatever they want and follow the other dogs, and that's the most learning they can do. So by then I made sure that this puppy has heard the gunshot and likely connecting the gunshot with the fallen bird with the gunshot, so she's know what it's about, and ideally she had the chance to retrieve at least one bird that has been fallen or has seen this happening. And from that point on, I don't need to practice that part. What I need to practice is a good retrieve, so the after gunshot work, that I set up various scenarios exactly, and then make the dog always have a nice and clean retrieve. To me,
you put a lot of emphasis on retrieve.
Exactly, not because there are so many retrieving tests on these tests, but because I believe several skills can be learned or boosted, or what's the right word?
Increased.
Increased by setting up these various retrieving exercises.
Like confidence.
Exactly, confidence.
Because
like
it goes back to when she started, the confidence.
Yes.
Exactly, like teaching the dog to range out further, teaching the dog to keep on working until it finds, teaching the dog to change varying terrain, so to go from short grass to high grass, to the woods, over the woods, further.
To brush.
Exactly. So there are a lot of things. You can teach the dog the memory, that she's remembering better if we just want to transit into the hunting situation. When a bird is shot, if you have a dog that has the good ability to remember if there are more birds being shot, and then you send her for the first and then for the second, and he's not wasting the time to just try to find the second somehow, but remembers it was more or less there, then from the retrieval word we know how good of a skill it is, and not just the memory, but also the ability to locate the fallen bird. So if a dog has a good ability to locate where the bird has been fallen, or where I have placed that bird with the seen far retrieve, and the dog is going more or less straight there, then he's not losing the time, and he's getting
so with our dogs, I hunted Cinder at 4.5 months starting, and we did small little hunts by herself mostly because I wanted her to associate. We practiced the intro to gun and then the intro to birds, and we kind of brought it together. in a training scenario with pigeons, so she would put them together. But then we took her out in the field with real birds, and we'd go hunt our big adult dogs, and then we'd go to a grass line or something small, and we would hunt her by herself.
Mm-hmm.
So once we got that all put together, we started hunting her with the big dogs. When we were confident that she could find point birds, she associated everything well. So you take your young dogs with your big dogs out to learn this. At what point do you pull them and hunt them by themselves so that you know that they have the confidence to work by themselves versus following the big dogs around? And all young pups kind of like to follow the big dogs and figure out what they're doing and do their search pattern. But at what point do you pull them out and make them work by themselves and get that confidence by themselves?
It depends on the individual. So some young dogs can work hard from the beginning and they have this endurance and willing to find, while other young dogs will just not.
They won't go.
Yeah, won't go.
won't
So for
expand.
that,
Right.
for those dogs, they need to find more birds, but they're not going to find more birds until they go. So I need a better dog to teach them to find, and then maybe it will take a whole season or a beginning of another season to get that confidence that they start to hunt and range on their own.
But
So
you
the
hunt them with a
ranging-
big dog to get that
Exactly.
range. Okay.
Exactly.
That's
and
interesting.
sometimes, so I have young dogs who start backing naturally.
Yes.
I have other young dogs who start to first break in. For those dogs, I might put a check cord on, and then when the big dog or the experienced dog is on point, I have the young dog go behind and make her send that bird, focus on that bird, understand why we are out there. Because
It's
certain
see the pointing dog.
Exactly. Certain young dogs are just too crazy and not focusing enough and just
Yeah.
really just running.
Yes.
If you see that and you see, there have been several occasions and she's just not pointing, just running and chasing, or it can happen that they become a bit jealous or stealing the point, and you can let that happen a few times, but after, let's say, fifth or sixth occasion, you're like, okay, this is enough, and now we are going to learn some manners that you are not going to steal the point. And then, in my experience, teaching a young dog to back, or at least to respect the other dog's point, and they're not going to be natural backers, but at least they're going to stand and
Recognize.
point with the other dog. That's another very good thing. Teaching again the young dog to find and point birds. I mean, the older dog can do that.
I asked that because when we were hunting naturally in season, we did hunt her by herself some, but more or less she was with other dogs hunting. So I just wanted to, and she
That
did learn.
happens.
She did learn a lot from them. She learned backing. She is naturally backing. I shouldn't say naturally, but from realizing that another dog on point means that there's a bird there. But I didn't know if that was the correct thing because a lot of people over here believe that you need to get that dog out by themselves a lot. Hunting and learning by themselves. But, I think that she learned a lot from these dogs and to the point to where the end of the season she was going out and finding her own birds and not following the other dogs. She was completely going a different direction and finding her own birds. But that's something to be said because a lot of people here believe you need to take them out separately.
What Sophie said was it's dependent on the dog. If you see a dog
Yes.
that right off the bat is doing its own search, it doesn't really need the older dog.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the dog that's kind of like,
Not able to find its own bird.
right. So it certainly doesn't hurt, if nothing else, to expand its range and
Right.
Yeah.
pick it up. Yeah. So there's really no right or wrong with it. That's where it comes to reading the dog.
Right.
And where I want to kind of tie this back to is like so many retrieving drills, and I was skeptical with the age of the dogs. I was like, there's a lot of dogs that made retrieves that you asked them, is your dog retrieve? Yeah, it retrieves. Like, not good. And we're asking for distance, and we've got 8 other dogs lined up with their owners. It seems like you ask a lot, but to me, it's what I took away from this is you put a lot into that. Now, I would say this dog in general has natural retrieving. There's always exceptions to the rule, but heavily on the retrieve side. My wire hairs have been, my short hairs have been, my Brockles were natural retrievers. But you're using, at least what I'm seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're using that retrieving instinct to build on in their search.
Exactly. Very
And-
true.
And I took that away from these 2 days. It's like when you started doing the they weren't really blind retrieves, but almost a blind retrieve. I'm like, no, the Labrador people start here, and you already start at a distance. Like, well, the dog already likes to retrieve. And I'm thinking, well, what other dog with a last name of Retriever, why don't they start out at a bigger distance? Where did you pick that up from?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Sophie. I know you're getting tired of another day tomorrow. I mean, because to me, that's like thinking out of the box. Is it because you just don't have enough? You got to use dead birds more than we do?
I think I have good skills training dogs.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking like how to solve this problem or how to make this situation better. And I remember with my very first dog, I was 18.
Yeah, the one that was great, but you realized that
she was a good dog, but not as good. I mean, I have put a lot of effort in training her.
Yeah.
So I would say she was an average dog that I managed to.
But she got a lot of accolades.
Yeah, she had been Vizsla of the Year in Hungary for 3 years based on her working achievements. I have won several competitions with her, but looking back, she was just an average dog with an average nose that I have put a lot of work in her.
Yeah.
And for example, I remember that there was this exercise in the all-round competition, so the field water forest competition, that the dog had to search in the forest for certain minutes, and left just like in the field, same enthusiasm, but very likely it's not going to find anything because there's nothing in the forest. So this dog lacked the drive that I was expecting. She was not very great in searching, and I put a lot of effort in teaching her to search, to have her go, because after a few minutes she would just slow down or would not be enthusiastic enough to search.
Yeah.
So what I did, how I thought that I will overcome this problem, what I did, I went in the forest, I dropped several dummies in the forest, and then I had her, walked with her and had her search, and she found dummies here and dummies there, and then I had her getting
then the forest
excited.
meant something.
Yeah, so she was then looking for something in the forest, and that was not something I learned, that was something I invented how to teach her. Again, this very same dog, I mean, as I've said, I do believe she was not a magnificent working dog. I was just working so hard to get her there. We had this exercise when the dog had to search for 10 minutes in the reeds, and without anything being there. So same as the duck search, but it was heavy reeds, and you are standing on the side of the reed, the dog has to search inside. Now this dog did not like the reeds. If she could, she would not do anything. So what I did, I went there, I threw, let's say, 4 or 5 dummies in the reeds, apart from each other, and I had her go and search for the first, for the second, for the third, and so I had her go and work until she found something. And then I did this searching for dummies in the reeds always and only on that very moment when there was the competition, there was the scenario where there was nothing in the reed. So that was her bad day, and she was just kept searching for something. Yeah. Again, I built up her confidence previously, so she knew that if I sent her in for a search, there is going to be something. Only on that given day, she was a bit disappointed.
But she did what she needed to do.
Yeah. Right. So this just came up in my mind. I had a problem to solve. I had this dog. Maybe it was a long time ago, but maybe she taught the most for me because she was not such a good dog, and I really had to find out how I'm going to teach her this and that when she doesn't really want to go. You
kind of made her a better dog than she was.
Probably, yeah.
But you didn't read a book about that or anything. You just kind of problem solved it.
So I have to tell I'm very bad in reading because I never have the time, and I'm so tired if I start reading I fell asleep. I did read, I wouldn't say I never read a book about dog training. It was long ago, it was 22 years ago, and that's how I started my basics. But as far as I remember, I don't really remember what they were in the book. As far as I remember, those books helped me the most to understand what these dogs are meant to do. Because I am not coming from a hunting family.
No training mentor.
No one explained me what these dogs were about. So actually, reading these books made me understand what these dogs are supposed to do. And of course, they did give me training tricks, but most of these books are focusing more on like how to train your dog for this test or that test, and that's what I'm trying to explain people that try to think beyond these tests and teach more for your dog, always to be prepared for unexpected scenario.
Well, like I said, I took away, I was skeptical about things, and then I think about them all day long, and I'm like, that kind of resonates. After I see it, I'm going to jump totally subjects. When we started off this morning, you know, with Sophie, your husband wasn't here to kind of help run two things, and you're like, we got to get a little focus here. So we set up, and we've done this. Oh, bless your heart. Oh no, I got one right here.
He can do it.
Yeah, we do it right here. Right.
I know.
Here we go. There we go. We've done this. I did this at the Potomac chapter, and I brought it to my chapter. We call it a healing circle, not like healing a cut on your hand. And you had all of us in a big circle, maybe 30-yard circle. And immediately, most of these dogs are pretty raw. Oh, you need another one?
No.
What do you need? Lipstick?
No.
Dog?
Dog.
Okay. Allison,
Yeah.
you're distracted. Whoa. Anyway, you set up, and I've done this with people, but within 20 minutes you had people walking away from their dogs.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a shit show. I thought we would have half the dogs running in the middle and playing and wrestling. Did you foresee this? That I don't know if I'm painting the picture right, but everybody has their dog heel in a circle. That's not a big deal, and some heel good, some don't. And then you want them to stop and just walk around them, which for some dogs is a big deal because they want to, look around. But in 20 minutes, you've done enough of that. Handlers, drop your leashes and walk into the middle circle. I don't think any dog broke into the middle of the circle.
I don't think so either.
I mean, that was a bit of what we call a ballsy move in America. Have you done that before with a bunch of people? Or were you just hoping?
I'm always hoping, and I'm confident, and it works. You know, when you believe in something, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The good and the bad way.
I talk to other people, and they're like, yeah, I didn't think my dog was going to stand there. And it can't be because they were all the same breed. No, it can't be like, don't go, he's with us. He's with us. I was thoroughly, and I'm going to bring that to our training days on Wednesdays, because what I learned from you was, like, you can go a little faster, you can push a little more, correct it, and go back to pushing it. Because I was like, there's no way we're going to walk in the middle of this circle and 20 dogs are going to sit where their owners told them to. I was kind of confident mine might, because I've had them walk away and I've walked away backwards. But I'm like, no, the rest of these people, I've been talking to them for a day, they're really new at this. Mm-hmm. I was shocked at that. Is that something you just do when you come to seminars?
So today was a hard day because there were so many people.
There was a lot.
Wasn't expecting, and I really had to be creative of like what we are doing and how we are overcoming that. People are
give us something to do
to keep momentum and
and that's why I wanted to do something together that even the young puppy. I mean, and there were different training levels, different age of dogs, so that's why I wanted to do something that everyone can
participate in.
And you know, everybody wanted to take advantage of the group training, obedience part, and I also think that dogs look at each other and copy the good and the bad behavior, and we had
That's a good point.
We had this atmosphere. I was confident. When I'm correcting a dog there, I'm helping certain people correct their dog.
Yeah.
I do believe the other dogs
did it to your dog,
Yeah.
for instance, and he did wonderful
and I
with
do
her
believe the
correction.
other dogs see that, and they're not going to shit around because they see me there.
When I was in school, if Mrs. Coughlin got mad at Ron, the other 5 smartasses in a class said,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
See, I think that is happening.
You
bit
are
more
a
those-
public school teacher to bad children everywhere. No, but that was a great exercise. It was similar to what we've done, but I've never told everybody to just let your dog stay there and walk away. And like now I'm thinking like I can't wait to implement that. And again, it was like the 3 bumpers, the 3 gradual bumper retrieves. I'm like, these dogs aren't ready for that. I mean, obviously the dogs that were ready for it, it was a good exercise. But young dogs, 9 months, 10 months, year old, that haven't, what I always thought had to be trained retrieved or force broke, you rely on the natural instincts and you kind of turn it into retriever work without doing the whole trained retrieve.
Yeah. So, but one thing you should not forget is
Yeah.
that we came here to do a very intense training in 2 or 3 days, and I'm
Right.
trying to give
Show a
the best.
lot of
give the
things.
best out of me. Show all these skills and show all these methods, so you can go home and know how to continue.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily saying that your dog is
Yeah.
going to do each and every exercise I'm showing.
Right,
But I
right,
wanted
right.
to give you a picture, and I wanted to help everyone to start. So
Yeah.
if we go back to this example of the triple retrieve, for the very young dogs, it was made very simple and quite a short one.
Quite short,
So you
right.
could have an idea of how to do. And very interesting, every time I do a training, I experience that I show how it should be done, I explain it, and then the first person doing it is doing it another way. So, and over 50%
Yeah.
of the people are not doing what I'm telling them.
Right.
And, I feel that I've explained it very clear. They think they've understood, and when it's their turn, they're like, so what are we doing here? So how am I going to do that? So I need to be there and help them to start. And
Yes.
once they understand, or once we can, I can correct them or
Yeah.
tell them what they do wrong, or why they think why I think it's not the right way they do
Right.
it, then they can go home with something they can work on.
Yeah, they saw it at a kind of a high level and then medium level, and you shorten it up to a beginner level. But I'm still like amazed at like the retrieve. At least that's what I'm gathering. Like when we took Tagus out for a bird, and you said, "Hey, and I told her, I said we hadn't shot over. So I stood 50 yards back or 100 yards, 80 yards back. And we said, you want to shoot a bird? I'm like, okay, if something goes wrong, you're going to have to take him back to Hungary for me. I know he's been around noise, but not around shooting. But you kind of had a confidence in like, it's going to be fine. Would you agree, this is a kind of a rabbit hole, what are their percentages? 50%, 60, 70, 80? There are dogs that just aren't going to be gun shy. I mean, you would almost have to sneak up to them when they're sleeping and scare them, right? I mean, they're stable temperaments.
Exactly. So I did see in your dog that he's very stable and
Stable.
confident,
So you
and
weren't
knows
worried
and
about
excited enough that we can do this.
Right.
If I had any doubt, if the dog was reacting any
Whether
little,
it was weird in the healing or...
yeah, or
weird-
just something we don't like
Yeah.
about it when he was behind and listening to the gunshot
Right.
from further distance, I wouldn't have gone any further.
Right.
Because then we can ruin the dog.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Where I would be a little more scared, like, oh no, I have to do it the old way, and you just kind of read the dog like going... You stood in the middle of us talking this morning, you said, here, Ron, give me Tagus, and... So you had like a feel like he's a stable dog. He'll be fine. Which a lot of dogs could. My first hunting dog, I didn't know you were supposed to let him know what a gun sounded like. I just took her hunting. She just happened to be a stable dog. And the first bird we shot, she was never gun shy, But I was still like, okay, Sophie, all right. And I'm like, he's heard one gunshot in his life, and now we're gonna go shoot a bird over him. But I had faith in you after.
But before that, we made sure he retrieved the live bird.
Right.
So he's not going to be scared of the live bird.
Right.
He retrieved the dead bird. So if
yeah.
it's shot dead, he's going to retrieve that. So we are going to have success in the retrieving, and we
Right.
are not just going to kill a bird just for
Right.
the kill.
Yeah.
So that is important,
Yeah,
I
you didn't
believe.
fly here just to shoot a gun in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's
so
a lot of thought to
I
it.
mean, I wouldn't shoot a bird for a dog that I'm not sure he's going to retrieve.
Right.
Otherwise, what's the point shooting that bird? You can just shoot in the air.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, by shooting first, have a dog that is retrieving, have a dog that is pointing.
And that goes back to you pull retrieving into so many aspects of training.
Yeah, but well, your dog is not 100% firm pointer, but
No.
he did point well for his first
experience
Yeah,
level.
first experience. I was
Yeah.
very pleased with him.
Yeah.
So we can call it a good pointing for his age and for his training level.
His level.
And then we made sure he's retrieving. We made sure he's not afraid of the gunshot. Well, at
Yeah,
least
or
from a little distance.
Safe distance, yeah.
And he seemed okay. He seemed excited about the bird.
Yeah.
So I felt he's ready to have
Right.
his bird shot. And we succeeded.
I felt like we were in Las Vegas rolling the dice.
Yeah. Ron was nervous.
And I'm like, oh, dog's not gonna try good. But I wasn't afraid of him being, but I was just like going, oh my God, in 2 days, we're shooting a bird.
You wouldn't let me shoot it the second time, though.
No, well,
I didn't let you
As a
shoot the
cripple,
second time
was
too.
it- was it-
Because actually the bird was shot.
Yeah.
It was
It
wounded,
was.
but it was enough for the dog.
I heard him
And we
say
do
no,
not,
but I didn't hear
Yeah,
you.
and we do not want to risk a second shot, which is unnecessary.
yeah. If you get away with one, you're good. Two can be later on.
Yeah.
But no, I was like,
Well,
I walked out of there like,
I was thinking you wanted a dead bird. You know, and I didn't.
No, I
succeed
just
at that,
wanted
so.
the bird that
Down.
was down.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. In fact, I don't know if anybody actually killed a bird today. All I
was
saw
not
was
They had
one that
perfect guns.
exploded.
all I
One
saw
bird
was
was inside
fly
out.
away.
Zeke's birds all flew away or got ground pounded. I mean, it's okay. Happens. But
Yeah.
But we're getting late here. Well, not for me, but for you young kids. Old people don't sleep well. Sophie, I want to try to get a feeling for, because anybody can go back. You can go back on Lips and you can listen to our interview 4 years ago. We talked all about your start and coming to here and running the test. I like the things you've done that I've watched you do. Although all along the way I'm like, it's too quick. But I still want to go back to like a lot of these dogs come from your dogs or one or two generations removed. And I said in the beginning of the podcast, you're not afraid to tell a brand new handler that you've never met that this dog needs this and that dog needs this. Is that still just your personality, or is that because you're like, that's just a Maldi in your blood and you're not going to embarrass me? I mean,
If anything I feel about the Zolmali, if it's my breeding, I can say shit about that.
okay.
So I can say this dog is bad
Because
or
it's
good
your
because it's
breeding.
coming from me.
Right.
So it's also partly my responsibility.
Yeah.
But I of course want to get the best out of these dogs and help these owners.
Yeah.
I believe it's my personality being quite straightforward.
I call it honest, straightforward. Is the
Yes,
exercise.
honest. I think these people came here to learn something, and I'm not here to just praise them and tell how good they did.
We call
I'm
that
here,
pumping sunshine up your skirt.
I'm here to give my best knowledge in this short
Yeah.
period of time, and
And it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, you got maybe 6-7 hours out there, and people start yakking and talking, and you're working with somebody, and it was very pleasant. It was, if I didn't have to go to North Dakota to beat a snowstorm, I'd stick around for another day, see if we could have Tagus, get a prize one tomorrow, maybe.
he's close to that.
Well,
If he'll swim.
Allison, your dog Zeke is his dad, and what's the mom's name?
Flair.
I thought you
Sudden
called her
Valley.
Poor.
Nah, she was kind of a little bit. A little bit.
And Susan and I now have a little bit of something to live up to because we have a prize one father, prize 3 mother. We have versatile champions and European champions. So Sue, Susan, we have some work to do because we can't let them down. What's your thought?
Well, I love the training. I love to be out there and exposing the dog and trying to read the dog, which I'm not always real good at, but we'll keep going. So, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be NA testing, see what happens there.
Not in a hurry to go to UT.
Oh, no, not that. That's a 2 to 3 year old dog thing.
I like hearing that
Oh,
because
yeah.
people love to do.
No, yeah.
You know, in the European system with FCI registered dogs, it's spring, fall. Spring is pretty easy, fall's a little bit more, but in our system, people almost treat it like that. Like, well, I got his NA last spring.
More and more,
right.
more and more so.
And
but
now I want a utility score.
no, I want another one or two hunting
Two
seasons.
seasons would be.
Under this dog.
Yeah.
Before I would put that kind of pressure on, especially Condi. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you feel?
I mean, I want to do it. I hope we can go there.
Well, yeah. And it's not to the invitational.
Oh no, yeah.
Just the utility test itself is a good test of the overall dog.
Right, and
It
then
has to
and
heal.
then
It has to search
yeah.
for a duck. It has
Yeah.
to bring birds back. It's a
Yeah.
good overall.
and I'm committed to AKC pointing dog hunting tests because that's field. It's the same as NAVDA, only just field, no water.
And it's with a brace mate.
And it's a brace mate, which I totally believe in.
Yeah, that's a great
for
idea.
honoring early, and I mean, just get that under their belt. Don't wait for invitational.
Right. It's a smart move.
So we'll be doing that, practicing, exposing.
And we'll be hunting sharptails in September.
Yes,
we
I
will.
can't wait.
I know.
And I'll be darned. I got a Wirehaired Vizsla.
Well, me too. Who knew? Who even knew what these dogs
Yeah,
were?
who knew that was going to happen? Anyway, Zoe, thanks for doing this. We had all kinds of SD card problems. I got to splice 3 of these together, but it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for making this happen, and thanks for all of you to come to my training, and I really appreciate. I know
Thank
all of
you.
you came from a long way, so did I.
Yeah.
Very long way.
You had
take
a
the
plane to help
you take the
but
prize.
you did bring a 2-year-old son.
Yeah, not even yet too.
Not even yet, too. And wait a minute, I'm going to remember his name.
Mowgli.
Thank you.
Mowgli from
Mowgli.
the Jungle Book.
What's the last name?
Your family name, you mean?
Yeah, his.
Mitsak, like my name.
Okay.
Not that he doesn't have a father.
What a way to wrap this up.
My name is so rare, and we don't. So we are the only one in Hungary with this name, and I don't
Really?
have any brothers. And back then, my husband told me if we're gonna have a child, we can name it this way. So then
So
I
it took your family's last name.
yeah.
Why couldn't my daughters do that for me?
See,
Kelsey, Mackenzie, Jesse. You took
3 different
Higdon,
names.
Rock, and Holden. You could have went with one Puma. Good night, everybody. Love you guys. Love you girls. Love you girls more.